In the previous lesson, we learned how to use masks to isolate the sky and work with that. But that was pretty easy because the shot really didn't move. When things start moving, it gets a little more complicated, but the beautiful thing about Premiere Pro is that it can really automate a lot of the tasks that used to be done frame by frame by hand. So what I want to do with this shot is focus on the soldiers in this memorial, and right now the background's a lot brighter, so my eye is drawn towards the background, not towards what I want to see. So the first thing I want to do is just like an overall correction, and I'm going to go ahead and use auto and see where it gets me. It does fix that background a lot. I really do like what it does. I could tweak it some more, but I think for our intent, it works just fine. The challenge is that now the soldier is a little too dark, and again my eye is not drawn to him. So let's go ahead and paint a mask. Now I'm going to position my playhead at the very head of the clip, and switching over to the effects control panel, I can now choose one of my masks. Because this is a complex shape, I'm going to go ahead and use the pen tool and just draw a very broad shape. And think of this as more of a proof of concept as opposed to a really fine mask, because I'm going to do this rather broad and quick, because I think the last thing you would want to see is me spend 20 minutes of your training time drawing a really tight mask. So we'll just basically draw a shape around here. If I want, I can click and hold and get a Bezier curve, but I'm going to go ahead and be pretty broad, rush through this, and go ahead and close my mask. It's a little bit high here, so I can just drag that down. And now I have a nice mask, and you're asking yourself, wait a second, it's wrong. My guy's darker and the background's lighter. Well, I'll simply press the invert button, and now there's the effect that I want. But again, the problem is it's pretty obvious. So I can go ahead and I can throw a little bit of a feather on here, and I can also expand and contract my mask. So that's pretty good. And remember, when we're done with this, the idea is that the viewer doesn't know I've put an effect on my shot. Now I could go through and step forward a frame at a time and tweak it, but what I really want to do is let Premiere do the work for me. So I'll go over here to the masking area, and I'm going to click on this little forward button, and that's the track selected mask forward. And what you'll see is it's going to step forward a frame at a time, looking for the high contrast area, and it's going to follow along with the soldier as the camera dollies from left to right. Now if I see it's starting to lose the track, I can simply hit stop, reposition it a little bit, and go ahead and have it continue on. Once Premiere Pro has finished the track, you can go ahead and click off the mask area, so now you don't see it, and I'm going to really fine tune this. I'm going to go ahead, maybe bring the expansion down a little bit and add a little bit more feather. And one more thing, I may go back here and go to the creative edge and pull down the sharpness just a tad. You don't want to do it too much because it'll make it stand out, but just a real subtle amount of using that sharpness in the other direction to soften the background is going to keep the viewer from looking at the background and have them look at the foreground. Let's go ahead and hit play and see how this looks. And just so you can remember what it looked like before, I'm going to turn off the effect, and this is the way it would have looked. So as you see, tracking a color correction's pretty easy because Adobe Premiere Pro can do a lot of the work for you as long as you give it the right guidance.